You know what hurts more than physical pain? It's realizing the person you've spent your entire life trying to impress never intended to be impressed. No matter what you did, no matter how hard you tried, nothing was ever going to be enough. So tell me, have you ever given someone the best parts of yourself, only to find out they were never interested in loving you in the first place? If you've ever had to stand up to someone who made you feel invisible, like your worth was conditional, you might want to stick around for this story. Take a moment to like the video, drop your location and local time in the comments, and hit subscribe if you believe healing sometimes begins with truth, even the kind that burns everything down. Now, let's listen to my story journey. I'm Eliza Matthews. I'm 32 years old, a senior investment strategist at one of the top firms in Manhattan. And on paper, I've made it. But behind the degrees, titles, and the polished LinkedIn headshots, I'm still just a girl who never got picked. Not even by her own father. It starts the day before the reunion. I'm standing in front of my mirror in a navy blue dress so sharp it could cut glass, wondering for the 100th time if this is the year he finally says, "I'm proud of you." I've spent a month planning this moment. From the car I just bought him, a brand new Mercedes S-Class, black, sleek, the exact model he once drooled over at a country club, to the ribbon I had tied around the key box. Yes, a ribbon. Like a child still handing their art to a parent and waiting for it to be pinned to the fridge. The car cost almost a year's salary. And don't get me wrong, I could afford it. I'd just been promoted, youngest in the firm's history. But this wasn't a gift. Not really. It was a last-ditch bid. One final Hail Mary pass in a game I should have walked away from a decade ago. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Taylor, my best friend since college. Taylor. Don't do it. Give him the key and go. Do not stay for the fallout. I don't reply. I already know I'm going to stay. I park a few blocks away from my parents' house in the Boston suburbs just to breathe for a minute. This neighborhood is lined with symmetrical trees and perfectly trimmed hedges. Everything looks polished, just like our family always tried to be. Controlled, ornamental. Behind the front doors, a different story. I knock. Dad opens the door wearing his usual uniform. Polo shirt tucked into khakis, watch face shining like a badge. The corners of his mouth twitch when he sees me. Not a smile, more like surprise struggling to mask disappointment. "Eliza, you're early," he says, like I've just shown up to an interview he didn't want to have. "I brought your Father's Day gift." I hand him the tiny velvet box with the key inside. He opens it slowly, like it might explode. And honestly, maybe it should. "A Mercedes?" he asks. Tone unreadable. "It's parked out front. All yours." He peers past me through the window. When he sees it, there's a flicker. An actual flicker. Of something that might be approval. But just as quickly, it vanishes. "This is excessive, Eliza. What are you trying to prove?" That's the thing about narcissists. Even your most generous gestures become evidence of your supposed desperation. "Nothing," I lie. "Just wanted to do something special." He takes the key, walks around the car twice like he's inspecting a new acquisition, not a gift. During the test drive, he critiques the steering, mentions the mileage, questions the insurance. Later, he pulls it into the garage, not the driveway, not where guests can see it. The gesture hits harder than I expect. He's hiding it, or hiding that it came from me. He offers a flat, "Thank you," followed immediately by, "You must be doing well to throw money around like this?" I laugh, but only with my mouth. I want to scream, "Just once, can you pretend you're proud of me?" But instead, I nod like a good daughter and walk back to my rental car. Back at my hotel, I FaceTime Taylor. "He hated it," I say before she even answers. "Return it," she says without blinking. "Take it back. Let him ride Uber Black like the cold-blooded executive he pretends to be." I don't say anything. She sighs. "You're still hoping he'll change, huh?" I glance at my purse. Inside is a sealed envelope. A DNA test I took 3 months ago after an ancestry app flagged genetic inconsistencies. Hair sample from his brush. Results: 0% paternity match. I haven't told anyone but Taylor. Not even Mom, especially not Mom. "He's not going to change," Taylor adds gently. "So don't show him that test unless you're ready to watch everything burn." "I know," I whisper, but I don't put the envelope away. That night, I lie in bed staring at the ceiling fan spinning like a clock hand counting down. I think about every time he brushed past me to brag about James. Every time he called my job glorified gambling. Every dinner where my seat felt like a placeholder. Every comment, every slight, every missed moment of praise. And tomorrow, I'll sit at a long table in a room full of people who share my last name, but not my sense of belonging. I close my eyes. The Mercedes is in his garage, but the test is still in my purse. The next morning, the air is sickeningly sweet with the smell of hydrangeas blooming along my parents' front walk. It's the kind of detail I used to romanticize as a kid. Blue and white petals nodding in the wind like nature's applause. Now they just feel like props, pretty distractions. I grip the steering wheel, trying to slow my breathing. My dress is flawless, hair curled just enough to look like effort without trying too hard. This is the performance. The annual Matthews Family Reunion / Father's Day, Homage / James Appreciation Hour. And this year, I'm arriving with a $130,000 question. Will he finally see me? I pull into the estate and park at the far end of the driveway. My father has already moved the Mercedes into a prime position, right up front, basking under the late June sun like a trophy he earned himself. No ribbon, no note, no credit, just like always. I step inside and the script cues up immediately. Eliza, you look amazing, Aunt Linda calls with a double air kiss, already fishing for gossip about my dating life. Still no ring? All that success must scare the men off. Better alone than bored, I reply, lips tight but smiling. Polite sarcasm, my lifelong defense. The room is full of voices and well-dressed bodies. My brother, James, enters like royalty. Rebecca on his arm. The kids perfectly styled in coordinated navy and white. Dad beelines straight for him, clapping him on the back like a fraternity brother. New car looks sharp, Dad, James says with a grin. When did you decide to upgrade? Dad doesn't even blink. Sometimes you just have to treat yourself. Success has its privileges. My spine stiffens. I wait for him to add, Eliza bought it for me. But he doesn't. He never does. Instead, he moves on to greeting his business buddies, the Petersons and the Stevensons, laughing too hard at things that aren't funny. My mother slips in beside me, adjusting my bracelet as though I'm still 5. That was very generous, sweetheart, she whispers. But next time, maybe something smaller. You know how he gets. That's the thing. I do know how he gets. I've spent my entire life studying him like an unsolvable puzzle. The first time I realized I was different, I was 9 years old. I brought home a school essay that had won a citywide competition. He flipped past the cover page, frowned, and said, next time, use more citations. Facts win over flowery language. James brought home a science fair ribbon that same week for growing mold on bread. Dad took him out for ice cream. Sophia drifts toward me, glass of wine in hand. She's always had this calming energy, like lavender and chamomile in human form. He's been showing off the car all morning, she murmurs. 3 tours so far. Calls it his new baby. Never mentioned your name once? I give a little laugh, but it catches in my throat. Maybe he forgot who bought it. Or maybe, Sophia says gently, he's rewriting the story to make it easier to live with. I glance at her. She knows something. Maybe not the test, but something. The envelope is still in my purse, tucked beneath lip gloss and gum. It pulses like a heartbeat. Liz, she says, using my childhood nickname, you know this has nothing to do with you, right? He's broken, not you. It's comforting. For about 5 seconds. Then someone clinks a glass, signaling it's time to move to the living room. The Matthews family migration begins. The same formal chairs arranged in a semicircle. My father seated at the apex like a king surveying his court. James, of course, starts holding court, bragging about his latest real estate flip. A failing mall turned luxury condo concept. You've got to take risks, he says. Other developers thought it was doomed. I saw opportunity. Dad beams. That's the Matthews instinct. Seeing what others miss, it's in the blood. In the blood. The phrase hits like a slap. I feel the envelope through the leather of my purse. I wonder if it's warm from my body heat. I wonder if anyone else feels the tension spiking like static in the room. Uncle Robert turns to me, polite and curious. Eliza, heard you're doing big things on Wall Street. Senior strategist, right? I nod. Just got promoted last month. Father clears his throat. Finance is unpredictable. Paper gains come and go. Real estate lasts. He turns back to James. Your project in Riverside, now that's legacy. Brick and mortar, solid ground. I could scream, or laugh, or cry. Instead, I sit perfectly still and let the fire spread through my chest. The room shifts to polite chatter. Sophia sits beside me and slides a hand over mine for a second. They don't see it, Liz, she whispers, but I do. I want to tell her I'm done trying, that I'm tired, that this year I brought the grenade. But I just nod, smiling thinly, as if I still care about the performance. Inside, something's already breaking free. By the time we reach the formal dining room, I've rehearsed at least 3 versions of how I might blow up the night. Each one ends with silence, gasps, and me walking out in slow motion while the chandelier sways overhead like a witness to betrayal. I won't lie, I've fantasized about it more than once. But when I see my place card, tucked far down the table, next to Cousin Rachel's husband and a junior analyst from my father's firm I barely know, I realize I don't need fantasy. Reality is insulting enough. James, naturally, is seated to Father's right. Sophia, to his left. Rebecca is beside James. The kids have a separate table, away from the adult business of legacy and image. Mother is at the opposite end, physically present, but emotionally exiled as always, smiling too hard, pouring wine like a nervous sommelier. I take my seat in silence, adjusting the napkin on my lap with the same precision I use to review market reports. It's not about comfort, it's about control. The first course arrives, seared scallops on a smear of something French. The servers glide through the room like ghosts. No one speaks until Father stands. Glass of Burgundy in hand, he offers his traditional speech. Same structure, different year. Family is like a business, he begins. It takes vision, discipline, and loyalty. Every head nods. I'm grateful to see my children growing into their roles and continuing what I've built. James, your Riverside development proves the Matthews name still leads in innovation. He raises his glass to James, who nods solemnly like a soldier receiving a medal. And Sophia, your work with the Children's Hospital Board shows leadership and heart. Your mother and I couldn't be prouder of the family you're raising. I brace myself. There's usually a pause here, a silence where my name should be, but this time he doesn't skip me. He turns to me and smiles. But it's the kind of smile you give before drawing blood. And Eliza, he says, voice mellow with wine, has always defined success a bit differently. The room stills. She's ambitious, certainly, a fighter. But some people chase titles to fill other voids. And when you're too focused on proving something, you forget to build something lasting. He doesn't raise his glass to me. He just sips, slowly. The silence is heavy. Then someone, Mrs. Peterson, I think, lets out an awkward laugh, and it breaks the tension just enough for everyone to pretend nothing happened. But it did. It absolutely did. Mother reaches for her wine like it's a life vest. Sophia looks like she might actually cry. I don't. I don't blink. I don't even breathe. Instead, I wait until the next course is cleared. Then I excuse myself to freshen up. I head straight for the study. The door is ajar. Father's voice wafts through like poison on the breeze. Yes, the Mercedes. Beautiful machine, he says, probably to Walter Peterson. You work hard, you get to enjoy these things. It's the reward for building something real. Walter chuckles. Your daughter mentioned it was a gift. Said she just got a big promotion. My father pauses, then casually, she's always been a bit desperate for attention. That job, that promotion, it's all because of the foundation I provided. I taught my children how to thrive. I can feel it in my teeth, grinding together like gears. She bought the car for the optics, he adds. It's her way of saying, see me. A status symbol, not a gesture of love. That's the moment I stop breathing. I step back, careful not to make noise, and return to the hallway. The envelope in my purse hums like a live wire. I don't go back to the table immediately. I lean against the cool marble of the hallway console and stare at my own reflection in the antique mirror above it. Same eyes as always. But tonight, they look older, tired, done. When I return, James intercepts me, eyebrows drawn together in practiced concern. Eliza, a word? We step aside near Mother's prized orchids. He looks down at me like he's already decided what my problem is. You've been asking strange questions, he says. About Mom's college years. What are you digging for? I shrug. Just family history. You know, the parts we're never told. He crosses his arms. Dad's built something solid. Something real. Whatever you're planning, don't. You don't disrupt family harmony for whatever crisis you're manufacturing. It's the word manufacturing that does it. I smile at him. Not sweet, not nice. Just enough to scare him a little. You should sit down, James, I say. Dessert's about to be served. Back at the table, Cousin Rachel shoots me a look that says I heard every word of that speech. Then she leans in and whispers. He plays favorites like it's an Olympic sport. For what it's worth, you've always been the most impressive one here. I blink, once. Then I reach into my purse and brush the edge of the envelope with my fingertips. 32 years of pretending. Tonight, I stop pretending. The beef Wellington arrives like a final act in a silent opera. Steaming, golden, and unnecessary. Every plate is a portrait of affluence, carefully plated like the perfection Father demands from us. I cut into mine with surgical precision, but I barely taste it. My tongue feels numb, my hands steady. Across the table, my father launches into a debate about property zoning with his latest pet business associate. James chimes in with figures, flexing like a Wall Street version of muscle, while Rebecca smiles without blinking. I've heard this script before, too many times. Real estate is real, finance is fiction. And Eliza is the unreliable narrator of her own story. The irony is so thick I could butter it on toast. Mother tries to interject. She mentions, ever so softly, my promotion. She's the youngest senior investment strategist in firm history, Richard. Father doesn't even look up. Henry, did you catch that report on the Cambridge corridor zoning revisions? Just like that. Dismissed. Erased. Eradicated. I want to laugh. Or stand or scream. But I sip my wine instead. Sophia's eyes flicker toward me. She mouths, I'm sorry. But sorry doesn't rewind time. I finally speak. My voice doesn't even crack. Actually, our international division integrated my risk model last quarter. 38% returns, outperforming the S&P by 22 points. A few relatives glance up, interested. Father doesn't miss a beat. Numbers on paper. Let's see how it holds up when the next recession hits. And then he's gone again. Back into a world where I'm just a glitch in his legacy. The rest of the meal unfolds like a slow-motion avalanche. Small talk, dessert, coffee. But I'm not really there. I'm watching from above, detached, floating. Then comes the brandy. Father stands again. The silence falls like a curtain. His speeches have always been the centerpiece of these dinners. Not because they're wise, but because we've all been trained to listen. He begins. A family, he says, is like an empire. And an empire only lasts if its citizens know their roles. I already know what's coming. He praises James, again, mentions the Riverside Project, calls him a visionary. Then Sophia, her charity work, her grace, her motherhood. The pride in his voice swells like a tide. And then, me. He looks at me. Pause. A tilt of his head. As I reflect on my children's accomplishments, he says, pretending to be contemplative. I'm struck by how differently success can be defined. His brandy swirls in the snifter. I'm proud of all my children, he says slowly. And for the briefest, stupidest second, I hope. Except for the loser sitting at the table. Laughter. Not loud, but enough. Ripples around the table like venom in water. Someone clears their throat. Someone else coughs. Rebecca goes pale. James stares at his plate. Sophia's mouth is slightly open. Frozen. My chest tightens. My face burns. My spine screams run. But I don't. Instead, I stand. Smooth. Controlled. Deliberate. My napkin slides off my lap like silk. I don't raise my glass. Instead, I rest both palms lightly on the table. The quiet is instant. Thank you, Father, for that illuminating speech, I say, my voice steady enough to make even James flinch. I've spent 32 years trying to be what you wanted. Valedictorian, Ivy League, Wall Street, no scandals, no surprises, no skipped steps. But I finally figured something out. I reach for my purse. The envelope comes out like a holy artifact. I wasn't failing to meet your standard, I continue, my voice low but unshakable. I was never meant to. Because I don't carry your blood. A gasp, maybe two. The table goes rigid. I lay the envelope in front of him. Clean, centered. You've known, haven't you? I say. That's why nothing was ever good enough. He doesn't speak, just stares. Happy Father's Day, I say. Then I turn, I walk. Out of the dining room, through the foyer. Past the polished mirror and the portraits of dead Matthews men who look down with stone-carved judgment. Outside, the air bites colder than I expect. Summer night, but the wind has a mean edge. The Mercedes gleams under the porch lights. My key fob chirps. The car unlocks. I slide into the driver's seat, engine humming like a beast waking up. I check the rearview mirror. The front door bursts open. My father's silhouette in the light. The envelope in his hand. He yells something, but I don't hear it. The window is up. The car glides backwards down the driveway. He disappears from the frame, just like that. Gone. The road away from my father's house is lined with manicured trees and polite streetlights. Just enough illumination to keep the shadows civilized. I drive through them like a ghost leaving its body behind. The Mercedes feels foreign now. Too smooth. Too silent. As if even the car knows it was part of a performance I've finally walked out on. At the next intersection, I consider turning toward the highway and heading straight back to New York. But something anchors me here, in the city where everything broke open. So instead, I drive toward downtown Boston, booking a hotel room on instinct. A suite with harbor views. The kind of room my father would have approved of if it had been paid for by someone other than me. I take off my heels as soon as I shut the door. My feet ache, but not as much as the rest of me. It's the kind of tired that lives in your spine. I collapse onto the bed and stare at the ceiling, waiting for the adrenaline to wear off. It doesn't. Not yet, so I do what I've been avoiding. I open my phone, missed calls, 17 texts, 29. Sophia is the first. Sophia. Liz, what happened? Are you okay? Sophia, again. You left Dad speechless. No one knows what to say. Sophia, later. Please call me. It's chaos here. Then James, predictably colder. James. Return the car. You've humiliated the family enough. James. Legal action is on the table if you don't comply. I scroll past the rest. Cousins, aunts, people I haven't spoken to in months suddenly needing answers or salacious details. I'm tempted to chuck the phone out the window, but I don't. Not yet. Instead, I shower. The water is too hot. I let it burn. After, wrapped in the hotel's thick robe, I finally listen to the voicemails. The first is from Mother. Her voice is calm. Too calm. Eliza's, darling, please call home when you get a chance. Your father is unsettled. We need to discuss this like adults. By the fifth message, her voice is cracking. I never meant for you to find out like this. Please, sweetheart, come home. Let's talk. I pause, heart thudding. Then her sixth message lands like a stone. Your father says you stole the car, that the envelope is fake, that you're trying to sabotage the family name out of bitterness. Eliza, he's not well right now. I close my eyes. Of course, even now, the narrative is being spun. I check the last call. Not a voicemail, a text. Mother, it wasn't an affair. I need you to know that. Can we meet? Just us? There's more to the story. I stare at the words for a long time, longer than I want to admit, because buried inside them is a single terrifying truth. This isn't over. Sophia calls. I let it ring. Then, at the last second, I answer. Her voice is hushed. She's clearly hidden away somewhere. Liz, are you safe? Yeah, hotel downtown. Oh, thank God. A pause. Then, he opened the envelope at the table, in front of everyone. I sit on the bed, gripping the phone tighter. And he just snapped, like full meltdown. shouting for mom, demanding she explain. She went pale. They locked themselves in his study. What happened after? 10 minutes of silence. Then he stormed out, started yelling about the car being stolen, said you faked the results, tried calling the lawyer. I let out a long breath. And James? Threatening lawsuits, telling people you're mentally unstable. Honestly, it's disgusting. The anger in her voice steadies me more than anything else has tonight. Liz, she continues, is it true? About the test? Yes. She's silent for a moment. I figured, she says quietly. You were always different. Not in a bad way, just apart. Like you weren't trying to be a Matthews. You were trying to survive one. I laugh. Just once. A soft, bitter sound. He's known for years, Sophia. Maybe always. That's why nothing I did mattered. I believe you, she says. And those 3 words, do more than any apology could. We hang up soon after. She promises to keep me updated. I thank her, and I mean it. But as I place the phone on the nightstand, I realize something brutal and liberating. That house is no longer mine. Not the walls, not the name, not even the air. I stare out the hotel window at Boston Harbor, the lights dancing on the water like tiny frantic truths. It hits me then. How quiet the room is, how peaceful, how mine, and how, for the first time in my life, I don't owe anyone an explanation for where I am or why I left. The morning after the explosion, Boston feels like another planet. Familiar buildings under unfamiliar light. The air carries that early summer sharpness, where everything smells faintly of salt and pavement. It's a beautiful day to rebuild your life. I meet Mother at a small cafe in Beacon Hill. Neutral territory. Public, but not too public. No chance of family drama bleeding out onto linen napkins or into the clink of wine glasses. She's already seated when I arrive. Her hands wrapped tightly around a coffee cup, like it's the only thing keeping her from unraveling. She looks smaller, less composed, less curated. I sit down across from her and say nothing. She opens first. His name was Thomas Keller. My pulse skips, not from shock, but from the validation that comes with hearing the truth spoken out loud for the first time. We met in college. He was studying engineering at MIT. I was majoring in art history. It was... She swallows hard. Not supposed to last. Did he know? No. Her answer is immediate, final. I didn't tell him. I didn't get the chance. She explains how her parents had pushed Richard on her. How Thomas didn't come from the right kind of family. How, when she found out she was pregnant, her father saw the scandal coming before she even processed what it meant. And Richard, I ask. He made an offer. Said he'd raise the child as his own. That we could present the pregnancy as starting after our engagement. A convenient timeline. I want to scream. But instead, I ask, why would he do that? Her lips twist into something that's not quite a smile. Because marrying me gave him access. To my family, to capital, to reputation, and he was ambitious. So he saw me, as part of the package deal. A name he could lend, not out of love, but utility. And then he resented you. I say aloud, mostly to myself. Mother winces. He tried, Eliza, in his way. But you didn't look like him. You didn't act like the other two. You challenged him from the moment you could talk. And her voice cracks. He never let himself forget that you weren't really his. There it is. The missing piece. The lifelong puzzle finally solved by DNA and a mother's broken confession over lukewarm coffee. I didn't tell you, she says, eyes welling, because I was afraid. Of him, of what it would do to you, of what it would do to us. You watched him tear me down for 30 years, I say, quiet and sharp. And you stood there, every time. Her shoulders fold inward. I know, and I hate myself for it. I want to believe her, and part of me does. But another part, the child who needed protection, sits in that chair too, and she's not so easily convinced. There were moments, she whispers, I thought about leaving, about telling you, about finding Thomas. But by then, you had his last name, his house, his expectations. I kept thinking, if I just kept the peace, it would be enough. But it never was, I say, and you know it. Tears fall, quiet and contained. The kind women like my mother were trained never to show. She brushes them away like something shameful. I'm sorry, Eliza. I failed you in the worst way a mother can fail a daughter. There's nothing to say to that, so I don't. We finish our coffee mostly in silence. She doesn't beg for forgiveness. She doesn't offer excuses. She just sits there, letting me see her, really see her. For the first time, not as the Matthews matriarch, but as Caroline, a woman who made a series of terrible bargains because she thought it was the only way to survive. Before we part, she reaches into her purse and slides a photo across the table. It's old, faded, 2 people on a campus bench. That's him, she says, Thomas, before everything. I stare at the man who looks nothing like Richard and everything like me. Same eyes, same sharp cheekbones, even the same crooked way I tilt my head when I'm thinking. I found his firm online, she adds, hesitant. He's in San Francisco, never remarried after his divorce. 2 kids. I don't know if he ever wondered. I nod slowly, because I already know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to find him. Not because I need another father, but because I need to know what kind of man might have loved me if he'd ever been given the chance. I wait a full day before reaching out. It's not that I'm afraid, at least not exactly. It's more like I'm aware that what I'm holding isn't just a message. It's a matchstick. Once I strike it, everything changes. Again, I write the email slowly, each word weighed like currency. Subject, a personal connection. Dear Mr. Keller, I hope this message finds you well. My name is Eliza Matthews. I live in New York and recently came across some information that I believe may connect us in a personal way. I'm not asking for anything. I simply want to share something important and, if you're open to it, speak in person. I understand this may come as a surprise. I'll respect your space if this is not something you wish to explore, but if it is, I would appreciate the opportunity to meet. Thank you for your time. Warm regards, Eliza Matthews. I attach nothing. No files, no photos. Just my name, my title, and a soft tremor of curiosity wrapped in restraint. Then I hit send. And wait. The reply arrives the next morning at 9:13 a.m. Subject, a personal connection. Dear Ms. Matthews, thank you for your message. I admit, I've read your email 3 times now and still don't know how to fully respond. But I appreciate the respect and thoughtfulness in your words. I'll be in Manhattan next month for a conference. If you're comfortable, we could meet for coffee and talk then. Please, take care in the meantime. Best, Thomas Keller. Just like that, the door opens, and I walk through. The next few weeks are a strange blend of motion and stillness. At work, I'm laser-focused. I pour my energy into reports and presentations, into the clean arithmetic of business. In the evenings, I unravel. There are no calls from Richard. James sends one more email, an aggressively passive-aggressive note through his lawyer threatening to escalate if the Mercedes isn't returned promptly. My own attorney responds with a brief but pointed letter. The gift was documented, the title clear, and the paternity claim is backed by verified lab results. We recommend he take no further action. That ends the legal noise, but not the fallout. Sophia calls every other day. Her voice is a tether back to something soft, something real. He's not speaking to anyone, she says one night. Not even James, just sits in his study and drinks. Let him, I reply. He earned the silence. He asked Mom to deny the test, said if she'd just say it was a mistake, he could contain the story. That sounds about right, I say dryly. Containment over confession, narrative over truth. And Mom? Sophia asks gently. I pause. She told me everything. About Thomas, about the deal, about the lie. Sophia exhales on the other end. Jesus. She's trying now, I add, and I surprise myself by meaning it. It's messy, but it's honest. We don't talk about the car, or the speech, or the word loser. Those wounds are still too raw. Instead, we talk about her kids, her garden, her latest grant proposal, the mundane details of her life that remind me I'm not just made of damage, that there's still space for the ordinary. And then, finally, the day arrives. Thomas Keller, 11 a.m., Midtown Cafe. Neutral ground again? Familiar now. I arrive 10 minutes early. He walks in right on time. Tall, weathered, silver at his temples. A man who's lived a lot of life and carries it well. His eyes, my eyes, scan the room, land on me, and pause. Eliza? He says, offering his hand. Thomas, I reply, taking it. We sit. For a moment, neither of us speaks. Just looks, like we're comparing puzzle pieces. You look like her, he says. But your eyes, those aren't hers. I nod. They're yours. He smiles, slow and cautious. That's what I was thinking. The conversation begins politely. Surface level, work, travel, shared acquaintances in the finance world. Then gradually, it shifts. He tells me about his divorce, about his 2 sons, both in college, about the girl in undergrad who broke his heart and disappeared. I always wondered, he admits. She ghosted me before ghosting was even a word. And I moved on. But I never stopped wondering why. She didn't know how to fight for it, I say, not unkindly. He nods, and then, with a quiet wait, so, you're my daughter. I meet his gaze. Yes. He doesn't flinch. Instead, he blinks back what might be tears. I'm sorry I wasn't there. You didn't know. Still, I would have wanted to be. That's when I feel it, the breaking of something old and hard in my chest. Not grief, relief. We talk for over 2 hours about family and ambition and what it means to be shaped by someone who was never meant to raise you. When we finally stand to leave, he places a hand on my shoulder. I don't want to force anything, he says, but if you ever want more, I'm here. I nod. I think I do. I don't tell many people about meeting Thomas, not at first. There's something sacred about it. Something still forming that I don't want exposed to commentary or interpretation. But I tell Taylor. We meet for drinks the night I return to New York, and she knows from the way I walk in that something's shifted. Okay, she says, sliding me a glass of Malbec. You're either in love, got a raise, or found your secret family. I smile. Third one. Her eyes widen. Shut up? For real? I nod. Did he cry? Did you cry? I didn't, I say. But it felt right, like I'd found a part of me I didn't know I was missing. She leans back in her chair, grinning. You've got his jawline? I'm calling it now. We laugh, and it feels good. It feels like my life is finally catching up to itself. Over the next few weeks, I begin seeing Thomas more often, not in a way that screams instant family. We don't play catch in the park or take matching photos, but we talk. We get coffee, we text. Sometimes he sends me articles he thinks I'd find interesting. He listens when I speak, he asks questions, and most importantly, he doesn't try to own any part of my life. He's not trying to rewrite history, he's simply showing up now. That's more than I can say for the man who raised me. Richard Matthews has gone radio silent. Sophia updates me occasionally. He's become increasingly reclusive. Clients have noticed. James is doing more of the public-facing work now. The Matthews empire is still standing, but there's a hairline crack down the center. And it's growing. He's obsessed with reputation, Sophia says over the phone. He doesn't care about the truth, just how it looks. That was always the case. He keeps a folder on his desk now, she adds, labeled with your name. I think he's trying to discredit you or build some kind of case. I don't even know against what. That folder, I say, is probably the most attention he's ever given me. She doesn't laugh. Neither do I. Eventually, I do return the Mercedes, but not in shame. My lawyer arranges the drop-off through a neutral service. The car is left in the same garage it was pulled from, clean and pristine, with a brief letter tucked into the glove box. You didn't want the gift, and I don't want to owe you anything. Consider us even. Eliza. I imagine him reading it, face contorting not in rage, but confusion. Because nothing infuriates a man like Richard more than not being in control of the narrative. And he's lost it. Completely. The Matthews name used to be a mirror I tried to polish, to shine, to earn space within. Now it's just a frame I've stepped out of. Therapy helps. Not in the cliché way. No soft music or endless talk about inner child wounds. My therapist is blunt, sharp. The kind of woman who doesn't let me hide behind sarcasm or work titles. You spent your life performing for someone who wanted a puppet, not a daughter, she tells me. And now you're free to stop. But why does it still hurt? I ask. She raises a brow. Because grief doesn't care about logic. It just wants to be felt. I learned to sit with it, to stop fixing, to stop proving. I learn how to rest. It's a new kind of discipline. Sophia and I grow closer. We text like teenagers now. She invites me over for dinner more often. Her kids have started calling me Aunt Z. She even confides in me one night over wine that she's considering stepping back from the Matthews name altogether. I want something that belongs to me, she says, not him. We toast to that. Mother reaches out more too. Tentatively, carefully. She never pushes. Sometimes she just sends old photos, ones where I'm in the background looking unsure, while James is front and center. I see it now, she texts once. I see how invisible you felt. Her guilt is a quiet thing, but it's there, and she's trying to own it. That matters more than she probably realizes. And slowly, piece by piece, I begin reclaiming my life. Not the curated version, not the one built to earn applause, the real one. I start working on a personal finance app designed for women without generational wealth. Something accessible, something useful, something mine. Thomas agrees to advise, quietly but proudly. You're dangerous with a spreadsheet, he jokes one afternoon. You gave me that, I reply smiling, whether you meant to or not. And just like that, another piece clicks into place. It turns out identity isn't inherited, it's constructed. Not from blood, but from choice. 6 months after that dinner, my life is nearly unrecognizable, but not in the dramatic, Instagram-filtered way I used to fantasize about. No lavish revenge, no viral, watch me reclaim my power speech, just quiet, steady change. The kind that matters. I've stopped checking for calls from Richard, stopped reading the social pages where James still tries to position himself as the rightful heir to a legacy I've walked away from. I don't miss it. Instead, I spend my time building something new. The personal finance app, Clarity, launches in beta with surprisingly strong traction. It's not flashy, but it's honest, transparent, built for people like me, who had to fight tooth and nail without a safety net. I host our first pitch meeting in a small glass-walled office downtown. Thomas sits quietly in the back, watching. He doesn't hover, doesn't offer unsolicited advice, just listens. Then, at the end, he says softly, "You're a natural," and it means something. Not because I needed it, but because I never had it from the man who should have said it years ago. Sophia is my biggest champion. She attends every virtual event, shares every update, even asks if we can build a feature that teaches teenagers about credit. I want my kids to understand money, she says, not just inherit it. Her honesty continues to floor me. It's not all smooth. The media eventually gets wind of the Matthews family fallout. A real estate blog runs a short piece titled "Boston Mogul's Daughter Disputes Paternity. Legacy in Limbo?" It's nothing I didn't expect. I forward it to my lawyer, then to Taylor. Taylor replies within seconds. God, he still gets top billing in your story. But he doesn't. Not really. Not anymore. I meet Thomas for lunch the following week. We sit at a quiet cafe near the park. The city glows around us, alive, indifferent, full of possibility. I read the article, he says, passing me a napkin when I nearly choke on my iced tea. Your mother was brave to keep all that inside. I nod. She was also cowardly to leave me inside it. He pauses, then says, people can be both, especially when they're scared. We eat in silence for a while, then he asks the question I've been expecting. Do you ever think about what might have been if I'd known? I set my fork down. Sometimes, but then I think, if you'd raised me, I might have turned out softer, kinder, less driven. And maybe I wouldn't have survived Wall Street, or launched this business, or learned how to hold my ground at a table full of men who wanted to shrink me. He tilts his head, the way I do, smiles faintly. I like who I am, I say. Even the parts that had to fight. It's not a declaration, just truth. He nods. I like who you are too. There's a warmth in that, not the kind that fixes the past, but the kind that welcomes a future. I don't call him dad, not yet, maybe not ever. But when we part ways, he hugs me, tight. The kind of hug that doesn't let go first. The kind I didn't know I missed until I had it. Thanksgiving comes faster than I expect. Sophia invites me, and this time I say yes. When I arrive, the house is warm, lived in. The kids scream, "Aunt Z," when they see me launching into my arms like I'm a jungle gym. Her husband waves from the kitchen, apron on, flour on his nose. "Hi, stranger," he calls. "Help yourself to wine before the kids drink it all." We laugh. It's noisy. It's chaotic. And it's nothing like the Matthews estate, which is why it feels like home. I glance around, realizing something profound in the quiet space between conversations. This table didn't require me to earn my seat. Nobody needs a business pitch. No one asks about title, income, projections. They just want me to sit, to eat, to be. Later that night, Sophia and I sit on her back porch, wrapped in mismatched blankets. "He didn't come," she says, referring to Richard. "Said he wouldn't share a holiday with someone who betrayed the family name." I sip my cider. "Then it's a better holiday," I reply. She nudges my shoulder. "You good?" I think for a moment, then I nod. I am, and I mean it. The winter after everything feels quieter than any season I've lived through before. It's not that life has slowed. If anything, the opposite. The app gains traction, new investors come knocking, and I'm suddenly navigating startup interviews, press inquiries, and podcasts hosted by women who ask, "How did you find the courage to walk away from a legacy like that?" I never have a perfect answer, because it wasn't courage, not really, it was clarity. The kind you only get after standing in the ashes of who you were supposed to be, looking at the life you've built, and realizing you'd rather live in truth than in performance. One morning, I get a package, a slim manila envelope with no return address. Inside is a deed for a small parcel of land in Vermont. No note, no explanation, just a signature at the bottom, Thomas Keller. I call him immediately. "You bought me land?" I ask. "I figured you might need somewhere quiet." "Somewhere yours," he says. "Why Vermont? You said once you liked the trees up there." I remembered. I hold the deed like it's something alive. I think of building a cabin, something with big windows and a wood stove, somewhere I can disappear to when the city feels too loud. Later that week, I visit the lot. It's covered in snow. The air so crisp it snaps against my skin. The trees are tall, wise, watching. I stand there for a long time, boots crunching beneath me, and let myself imagine something I never used to think I deserved. A life built not for approval, but for peace. I don't talk to Richard again. Not once. Not when James has his third child. Not when the Peterson Group buys out a Matthews property. Not when the Boston Business Review runs a retrospective on Richard Matthews, calling him an empire builder with a fierce code of legacy. Legacy. That word used to haunt me. Now it just sounds like a cage someone else forgot to lock. The final message I ever get from my mother comes in the form of a card. Handwritten, no return address. "I think of you every day. I don't know if forgiveness is something I've earned, but I hope you found what I couldn't give you." C. I don't write back, but I light a candle on the Vermont land one evening. Let it burn until the wax pools, soft and steady. Some goodbyes aren't spoken, they're lived. Spring arrives early that year, and with it, a strange, warm understanding. I am no longer anyone's disappointment. I am no longer anyone's lesson. I am just Eliza, not the girl who bought a car to buy her father's pride. Not the woman who carried proof of her illegitimacy like a bomb waiting to go off. Not the outsider at the long table with a perfect name and no chair. Just Eliza, with a mind sharp enough to rewrite market models, a heart steady enough to hold contradictions, and a future no one else gets to define. On my next birthday, I sit in the window of my apartment with a cup of coffee and no plans. No performance, no proving. I post a photo of the Vermont trees with a caption that simply says, "Not all inheritances are financial. Some are found in silence, in strength, in starting again." And beneath it, a comment from Sophia. "You've always been ours, just not his." The likes pour in, but I don't care. Because the one thing I wanted, truly, deeply, was to be seen. And now, I see myself, clearly.